This PenSpring tutorial will illustrate how to split up a work, a book or document, into chapters or sections. We'll click on a book and add it here, as we saw in the first tutorial. Giving it a title, choosing the native language. We choose to upload a file. Then here we're going to choose book with chapters, because we want this document to be various chapters, and so we can have it split up. So we are looking for a partial book. I believe there's only 4 chapters in it, with the title page and preface. So as we upload, it uploads the file, but immediately it will go now trying to find your patterns of how you labeled those chapters. So it's looking for a pattern, in this case chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. It could also be looking for section 1, section 2, section 3. It goes through these scenarios until it identifies the pattern that you've used. If it doesn't recognize it, then it will continue on and allow you to do it yourself. In this case, this book is labeled with chapter 1 and chapter 2, which we'll see shortly. So this would be the most complex part of uploading a file, but it will be very worth it, because once your book is split up in chapters, you can of course continue to add additional chapters and assign those chapters to different editors for different purposes. So notice, we have a title page, a preface, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Saved me a lot of time. Particularly, there's one book I have that has 55 chapters, and it will successfully break them perfectly all the way through. But notice as we scroll, we find that there's a preface here, and I choose to break it. But notice, when you move the mouse to the left, watch what happens. It breaks open a few of these images of that section tags right there. You can click on one of those. It'll immediately look for the next text. In this case, it's preface. Perfect. I don't even have to type it in now. But notice as you move your mouse around, it will continue to create those breaks. Wherever there's a line break, that's considered a potential section break. So we want to give you that image so you can click on it if you want to. Now we're just perusing through. We come up and we find that certainly chapter 2 was marked in the right place. Perfect. I'm confident we're good. We're going to go ahead and click on Finish. If your book is lengthy, submitting these may take some time. There's a lot of processing going on behind the scenes, but here we're going to say, yes, it looks good. Notice then that each chapter is going to be processed individually. And there are a lot of things going on. Separate files are created for each one, so PenSpring can keep track of those. Your word count is also being calculated, so that'll be good for your convenience. So just to reiterate, the reason why we want to have chapters split up is so we can assign these chapters to different editors for different purposes. And of course then we can also take a chapter away from all editors for that purpose, just because we're done and we don't care to get an additional insight. Or a chapter is brand new and there's only 1 or 2 editors that you would trust to see it for the first time, because you know the nature of your other editors may be too severe for just a brand new chapter, where you want to be sure your idea is right and good before you get down deep in the perfected grammar. So we got through the 4. If it does process for a long time because your book is large, just let it run. It won't time out. It's working between the server. So you come to the page then where you grant access to your editors. We're just going to choose Audrey, Jeff, and Sherlyn. So you see that we can choose between all our editors. Save it. Now we go and add access. Now notice that on the top there we are actually chosen to set all access for all unset users. So whatever we choose here, if we leave that option, which we don't, we set it so only Jeff in this case is given access. And we're going to give apparently Spanish to him. Very good. So just 3 chapters or sections in Spanish. So now we see that he was given those sections. And even though it says chapter 1 and 3 through 4, These numbers are actually the sections in order as you had them in preface is actually number 1. So it doesn't match right up with your chapters. Notice then we're going to give Audrey all sections and just English. And now you see from that report, she has everything. Jeff has just partial. Cherlynn doesn't have anything at the moment. So going back now, let's upload a book that does not follow the conventional labeling of chapters, such as Chapter 1, Chapter 2, or Section 1, Section 2. So we're uploading again. Choose a file. This time it's going to be called Chicken Scratch. This is a shorthand instruction manual. The chapters are actually listed as Lesson 1 and Lesson 2, Lesson 3. Currently, Penspring does not pick up on those keywords, although that could be an update in the near future. So notice then that this is going to be pretty fast because it's not going to find a pattern of Chapter 1 or Section 1. Jump straight out, and you're left on your own pretty much. So on the top right, you say, okay, what are my search options? Click on that option there. This is going to look familiar. We were here before. However, and then we see that there's our table of contents, and we do see for sure that, yeah, it does start with lesson. So this time we are going to type in a word, lesson. This is the label we're looking for in all those sections. Then we choose that we're going to look for one that follows that keyword. Notice we could also choose to have the number precede the keyword. In this case, it's going to be lesson 1. Now this is where you'll need a little patience and faith, because as you go and you decide to search, it's going to hit the table of contents first. And in there, when it looks for lesson 1, when it also hits lesson 10 and lesson 11, that still matches with lesson 1 because it starts with 1. So just patiently click no, 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 all the way through until it jumps to the first section. So you'll see we'll hit lesson 1 here in just a moment. There it is. Got the location. At this point, we're going to click yes, and now it goes to lesson 2. And now we can go very fast because it'll go lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4. And just in case in between, maybe lesson 4 refers to lesson 5, you might want to watch for that and skip over that one. And so as we reach the end, let's click on the Finish button. Once again, we have to move the demo screen over because it's not as wide as most computer screens. It will give us a confirmation page, once we click on there, that our lessons are all found and marked just properly, and we'll click on yes. Although it does seem we are missing the title page and preface, so we might have jumped the gun on this one. But it will continue to process. Each chapter comes to the access screen as we were used to seeing, and we won't bother going through that part again. But we do invite you to see the additional tutorials of Penspring to give you additional insight.